Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the KZ ESX. I apologize first of all for having taken so long to do it, but there's just been so many things to do. Not only my personal life, but work, but also with so many IEMs arriving every day for me to review and check out. Sometimes other things end up taking priority over the all the stuff that I already have in house, and it's not non-intentional what I'm doing. Anyway, before I start, here is my M15. Most of the listening was done through this, although over the last couple of weeks I also use the ESX with my QDLX, or with my BTR5, or even with my UP4. I used it with a TK2 as well. So I kind of had it hooked up to a number of different deck amps just to get an overall feel of the sound. I'm not going to take you through the whole unboxing process or anything of the sort, just not needed. But I'm going to talk to you obviously about how it fits and how it's build quality and everything. Anyway, the ESX was made with the intention of being a 10-year commemorative IEM, and in terms of its overall size, when you, for example, let's take the KZ EDA, for example, and you compare it to it, the EDA is smaller. You take the CCA CRA Plus, smaller. You take the Ultra, the EDX Ultra, again smaller. So you can see that this is not it's not a small IEM, it's a big IEM. It brings a 12mm driver. By the looks of it, this is a totally new driver as compared to the ZES, which was the previous model which used such a big driver. But fit is fine for me. I've got no real complaints. Fit is fine. Isolation is pretty decent. It's got a nice weight to it. Nice sturdy plastic resin kind of shell. Nice cool faceplate design. I mean, it's a nice looking IEM. It looks smart. The cable I'm using is actually a QKZ cable. I thought it just looked good, with the ESX, with this kind of yellowish goldish color. It just looks smart, and it's better than the stock cable. Let's put it that way. So yeah, overall fit, like I said, is fine. No real complaints. Although it's a big IEM, this is like basically the same kind of shell size as a CCA CA10, the 5BA unit that CCA or KZ manufacture. So it's a big shell housing a big driver, 12mm. That's basically it. It seems to have in the back here these grills. This is open, so it seems to be kind of somehow of a semi-open design. I'm not going to confirm that 100%, but it seems to be that. So that's the idea. Anyway, let me just now put things into context a little bit before I carry on. As we all know, KZ has, over the last couple of months, if it's somehow a way of redeeming themselves from some of the the stuff that's happened or not. I don't know if this was already planned. I'm assuming it was. But the truth is, KZ has, over the last couple of months, tried to redeem itself. And, following the ZEXPro and the DQ6S, which were both collaborations, which brought a more, let's say, polished up tuning to the KZ house sound, the first launch that they did of a better sounding IEM, let's say tuned in house, was the original CCA CRA. And I'm not going to be speaking too much about it, but if you guys remember from my reviews and from what most reviewers said, it was a nice sub-bass focused IEM with good mid bass, even though considering it was sub-bass focused. the mids were not that much laid back as compared to the sub bass. But the usage of a really novel lightweight diaphragm is what was the big feature here, which enabled it to have some really good extension up top. It also had a peak there at 5K, which was the main reason why a lot of people actually then criticized. And they actually ultimately forgot that we were talking about a $15 IEM and were trying to make comparisons with way more expensive stuff. For $15, the CRA is, or was, and is still a killer IEM, period. So then, earlier this year, around March, I would say, they decided to launch something which was quite of a novelty. I mean, usually when you buy an IEM, you buy one IEM. So they launched the EDA series. Okay, and the EDA was initially sold for about $30, and the price has basically maintained itself. And it was comprised of three IEMs: a balanced, a bass version, and a high resolution version. Personally, I've got the balanced version, which I think is the one that makes the most sense. The bass, not that there is dramatic differences between the three of them, but it's noticeable, and I just feel that the balanced version is the one that actually makes more sense, and it was a definite improvement in my opinion over the CRA. It tried to polish up some of the mistakes, well, not mistakes, but roughness of the CRA, and it did it quite successfully in my opinion. Actually, it's actually funny because KZ has a tendency of just launching IEMs, and then in subsequent models then they try to resolve problems and retune and improve upon it, as opposed to just launching straight away a well-tuned, well-executed one from the get-go. So anyway, we had the EDA, which then was later released as a single unit that you could buy in the balanced, let's say, variant. Nice sounding IEM, really, for the price, for the $20 roughly that it costs, you can't really fault it as well. Polished signature, they brought down, they controlled a little bit more the 5K peak, subdued the sub bass a little bit, and overall the signature became more balanced out, more coherent. Then, about a month after that, they launched the updated CRA, and they call it the CRA Plus. Some people thought that the difference in sound was so significant that it deemed to be called something else and not CRA Plus. I disagree. I think that the fact that they were able to maintain the high frequency of the original, okay, while at the same time bringing down that 5K peak, which was the main concern, is enough to justify it being called a CRA Plus. Although I think the reason why people were saying they should be called something totally different was because they reduced the sub 50 hertz area by a little bit, by 3 or 4 dBs. So it took away that sub bass focus that the original CRA had. But in my opinion, what it gained was way more openness in the sound. The mids now were basically, vocals and stuff were on par with the bass and with the sub bass. They weren't delayed, let's put it that way. And its real criticism here was only that the fact that the treble, which is got a nice extension, sometimes just was a little bit too unpolished, too capable of being, let's say, delicate in its presentation. Okay. But under normal listening conditions, it was fine. Actually, if there's one thing that any one of these IEMs has, and the majority of the KZ IEMs have, is that they're very easy to drive, and you get plenty loud without the usage of any external dongles or damp amps or anything of the sort. But obviously, if you do, you just get proportionally, in my opinion, you get the improvements that are to be expected. Let's put it that manner. Then after that, and not long after that, I mean not even a month, we came to the EDX Ultra, which is for me the one that makes the most sense out of all of them up to now. And I'll get to the ESX in a second. It managed to smooth out and basically eliminate that unpolished characteristic of the treble while maintaining it nice and extended. It further brought down that 5K peak, so it maintained things up to about 2K. These three actually graph very similar, and these two are spot on equal. it's then after that then there's a little bit of differences here and there, and this managed to bring down the peak of 5K further, and it also brought down the 8K peak further. So it's not only a coupler related peak, that 8K, but also a driver related peak there. And what that all then translated to was a more polished again sound over the CRA. So you can see what I meant by they just launch and then they improve subsequently. I mean, what they did here, they could have well done straight away from here. When they launched the EDA, they could have launched something straight away when they launched the EDA, like the EDX Ultra. But anyway, that's their marketing philosophy, that's their the business model. So I guess we just have to respect it. But the truth is, costing around $20, even less at some points. This current sales, for example, is less than $20. It is unquestionably the best tuned KZ. Well, I would go as far as to say probably the best tuned KZ of all, when you especially take into consideration the price. I mean, there have been other KZs which were well tuned, but this, single DD costing below $20 and tuned like a boss, let's put it that way, is basically the three requirements needed for it to be overall the best KZ IEM. And not to spoil things, it's maintained itself as the best KZ IEM in my opinion. The ESX is not an improvement over it. If this was to be like, let's say, an evolutionary scale of things, okay, the ESX has actually come, in my opinion, even below the EDA. Why? Okay, let's get into that now. Although when you graph it, you see that there is some similarities in the bass between all of them and how it graphs in the bass. The reality is this: it's a 12mm driver. So even though it might graph the same, being a 12mm driver over a 10mm, there's a little bit extra area, which will then mean that it will produce obviously more air movement, okay, and more quantity of bass at the same equal power and sound level. Coupled to the fact that, contrary to these ones, where you had a peanut gain, which peaked at just over 2K, and then it actually maintained itself a little bit, and then peaked again at 5, or then this, the CRA actually became a little bit smoother, brought up a little bit the treble areas compared to the EDA. So it became more balanced. This one further even an improvement over that by making that whole area there between 2 and 8, 9K very much flattish, let's put it that way. This has got valleys after 2K, and then it peaks, and then it's got another valley, and that just coupled to the fact that it's got so much more bass quantity at the same level of volume as the others, just makes the sound very dark. And I mean, fine, if darkness is what you're looking for, then I guess it makes sense. But when I take it and I compare it to the EDA, for example, and the EDA is the one that has the less treble extension, the less air out of these ones, okay, it's not capable of beating the EDA. It has less than the EDA, okay. Vocals, mids, they can on occasion sound in terms of tonality correct and so on and so forth, but still overall inferior to the EDA. The extension is about equal up top as the EDA, but because of that extra thickness in the sound, it sounds muffled, it sounds that subdued. So again, the EDA is better. The CRA is way better, even with its issue of the treble being not excessive, but being a little bit harsh and a little bit unpolished. It's better. It's better than this. It's got a more open sound, way more open sound, and the difference in terms of bass quantity is not significant. It's just that all the frequencies here are so much nicely matched, so much nicer, or so much more well matched, that it just sounds like a more serious earphone. And the same thing applies for the Ultra. The Ultra is again a superior IEM to the ESX. I hope, and I'm sure I'm not going to be saying anything that's wrong, because with their launch schedule being as intense as it is, I am sure that the same way that this was a massive improvement over the ZES on which I'm guessing it was based upon, and I could be wrong, but it seems like this is somehow using some sort. Let me see if I can maybe zoom in and you guys can see. If you actually see carefully, this is not easy to show. If you actually look at, it's not easy to show, but it seems somehow to have some sort of an LCP driver. Could be, maybe it's not, maybe I'm just, talking nonsense. But that's somehow the feel that I get. It is a thicker sounding IEM as compared to the others. If what you want is that, then it makes perfect sense. I'm guessing it will be a good IEM to play EDM if that's what you like listening to. If you like loads of energy, loads of strong, impactful bass, then definitely that's the choice for you. If you want IEMs which are more capable across a wide range of genres, then any one of those top three there is a wiser choice. So, I mean, basically, I've said what I guess we wanted to know, what most of us wanted to know. Technically, then, it is inferior to the other three. Always, obviously, keep in mind that when I mention technicalities and sound stage and imaging and detail retrieval, we're talking about IEMs which are cheap, which have got a very budget price. So don't expect miracles. But the truth is that they do have those characteristics. They do have a decent enough sound stage. They do have an ability to create some sense of 3D, especially in the CRA Plus and in the Ultra. They've got decent detail retrieval as well, the CRA Plus and the Ultra, and even the DA, but this is just inferior to all of those three in terms of those technical aspects. The only one that it keeps up with them, or perhaps even exceeds certain times, is in terms of its tonality and timbre. It's got a nice, it's got just a nice feel. It is also, in my opinion, the one that is perhaps the most sensitive with regards to what you're going to use to hook it up. So I would suggest maybe to try and compensate for that darkness that it has, to use it with a more brighter sounding DAC amp, so something that perhaps uses in its signal path an ESS DAC, because usually those sound a little bit more brighter. So a TK2, for example, with this sounds beautiful. While with the CCAs, the CRA Plus on the TK2 can sound way more aggressive very quickly, and it sounds thinner, let's put it that way. But this, it sounds very nice with the TK2. Really, it sounds really very good. So yeah, guys, that's basically it. We have the CCA Lyra coming out now, so that will be, again, hopefully an improvement, and I'm sure it will be a definite improvement over the ESX, and hopefully they will bring out again an improvement of the ESX, and hopefully it's as big as an improvement as it was between the ESX and the ZES, on which it was based. Well, I'm assuming it was on the ZES that it was based on. And yeah, that's basically it. As always, guys, if you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe. Any questions that you have, please feel free to ask. I'll do my absolute best to answer all of them and to try and fulfill whatever requests are made. And yeah, that's it. So guys, you have it. Sorry for the delay once again, but honestly, save your money. Let's wait to see what the Lyra is about, and then I'll tell you guys, and maybe that will make sense. But if you have any of those three there, this is not an upgrade to any of those. Definitely not. And if you are in the market to buy one, because you don't have any of these KZ or CCA IEMs, I still stand by what I've said a few times. KZ EDX Ultra is the one that makes the most sense for me. Period. All right, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.